Okay, all right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thursday, April 24th, 2025, the Finance Committee. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just like to note that this meeting is in person and is being recorded. I'd also like to ask people to make sure that they talk into the microphone because we had some issues with the minutes. So I'm not saying who did that, but.
Yeah, I felt bad.
Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is the warrant review, but that's not going to happen because we just have Schedule A, right?
We have, the only other item we have on the warrant is the Schedule A to be voted in. We'll do that
That's
next
next
week,
week,
because we're waiting on two of the unions to see if I can get them settled before
Okay,
then.
But there are a couple rationales we just have to review
Okay.
under that topic.
You want to do that?
Your choice.
Bob, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Last I knew, we were having a joint meeting Monday night, are we not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, because I didn't see it on the agenda, that's weird.
No, I posted a separate agenda.
Oh, okay,
You'll see it posted already.
thanks.
And that meeting starts at 6:30, and that's the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen to discuss the budget and the three topics of grant writing, short-term, long-term capital projects, and economic development,
Okay,
and the budget. And I'll be giving a brief, very brief presentation at the beginning on the budget, but I don't want that to be, it's just,
Sorry.
yeah, I want the
Okay.
both committee and board to discuss the
Okay,
items.
now, the last Select Board meeting, I know you reviewed the index,
Yes. yeah.
so, but when are you going to do the actual
So
warrant?
the board will
then?
get the warrant this week, and then they'll vote on the warrant the first week in, May 5th.
May 5th, okay.
They'll vote on the warrant.
Okay. So do we want to do some rationales? or
Rationale, you have re-
Do we want to finish? up
Yes,
with
there
some
was just a
rationales?
couple more.
Okay, all right.
Let me just scroll on down. Obviously, we're not doing 10 yet because we haven't voted on the budget.
Which one are they doing?
So I wrote up a draft of the camping bylaw rationale,
Oh,
because we all voted unanimously to not recommend.
right.
So the Finance Committee voted unanimously to not recommend the proposed camping bylaw that would prohibit camping on public or private property, recognizing that such measures ineffectively address homelessness. Current no trespass orders provide property owners, including the town, with legal mechanisms to address unwanted occupation of specific properties. The proposed bylaw presents significant enforcement challenges, and Dartmouth lacks the resources to consistently monitor and enforce such regulations across all town-owned spaces. The bylaw and fines would likely be selectively enforced, potentially creating discriminatory enforcement patterns targeting individuals who have no alternative shelter available to them. The silence is deafening. Does
Sounds like a social worker wrote that.
Yeah, no,
anybody have any thoughts, concerns, comments?
the only, I think it's great, but my understanding was that it wouldn't be selectively enforced, that it wouldn't be enforced.
Well, it will be enforced because they are obviously going to force them to do something,
Okay, I see. what
which
you're
is leave the area.
saying. Oh,
or-
right, they give it a
So
ticket.
that's an
But they're not gonna-
enforcement.
I guess,
It doesn't say criminal. I understand that
yeah.
it's not a criminal enforcement.
yeah, it's the ticket, the collecting of the ticket that's not going to be enforced. So, yeah, that is correct, yeah.
But once again, that is selective because there could be people that they decide to fine who, for whatever reason, are camping.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, I don't think there's anything in there. I don't know.
Anybody have any comments?
Well, I think it's fine. I mean, The only reason I was against it was that they couldn't enforce the fine, they couldn't enforce the move with the order, so what's the point of having it?
That's significant enforcement challenges.
Yeah,
Yeah, so what's the point of having it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Correct, but
I think I think your wording is beautiful.
Yes.
I know Carrie and Terry both, I think, sent me the Mass General Law, but that seemed focused on recreational land.
It was.
And I'm not an attorney, obviously, so
Yeah,
it
it
seems
was.
like that could be torn apart if I put anything like that in there.
It wasn't specific, that's true.
That's why I went with the no trespass, because I also poked around, yes, I did, online to look at what other people had said, because this has come up in many towns at this point, for obvious
What
reasons.
did you find?
Well, this helped with
That's-
some of my direction
Oh, okay.
when I went after why people were opposed to it. There's people, and I forget what town it was, somebody went to the Attorney General, I forgot what town, and said, this isn't right.
So Janine, I would suggest, I needed to read it before I.
Oh, that's
because
okay.
I would suggest taking out bylaw and fines would likely be selectively enforced. I think that police might not like that, and just leave the bylaw could potentially, you know what I'm saying, create discriminatory.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yep, yep.
Yeah. It's a good catch.
If I may.
All right, let's just
Oh,
finish
sorry,
it.
go ahead.
No, let's finish.
Yeah,
it.
Bob knows I can't type fast.
Yeah, let's finish this and then. let's-
The bylaw could potentially create discriminatory
Yeah.
enforcement patterns? Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that
Go
better.
ahead, Bill?
Bill?
I don't know why we even have to have that sentence at all, because it's really self-explanatory when the Senate's current no trespass orders provide property owners, including the town, a legal mechanism to address unwarranted occupation of specific properties. So, having that said that, you really don't know anything about fines or that would be imposed to begin with. So I would just leave it alone, because there's potential, but it kind of muddies the waters, because there are mechanisms in place that may or may not cover bylaws or fines to begin with. So why bother mentioning it? Why go the extra mile, Jane? That's what I'm trying to say.
The reason I said that is because of how this was presented to us. It was absolutely targeting the homeless.
Yep.
No
Well,
offense,
then it was-
Gary.
We made comments like, how are people going to come up with $100 if they, they can't?
Well, that's more or less, yeah, how can they? So why bother mentioning this at all? Because I think it's a moot point. They may not be able to pay, and they're homeless people. Frankly, I'd have a hard time trying to impose a fine on somebody that's homeless and has no monies. I just can't see
There
that.
was
I
actually,
think, excuse me, but I think that what Jeannie just wrote here is the response to what the committee had talked about, the response of that, the fine, the committee didn't feel the fine was appropriate. So the response here is, I think, the reaction to why the fine, I think it
Yes.
reads pretty well. If that's what the committee feels, I would leave it in there.
Yeah.
Talk about,
I mean, there was actual federal case law that I could have cited, but I decided to leave that out.
All right,
As I
so-
said, the
so
Attorney
the
General attacked this, so I had some good
We're
info.
going to leave it, Bill, right? I mean, that-
All right, well,
think
if
we
you
should
guys
leave
want to
it.
go that way, that's
yeah.
fine.
There's no downside to leaving it.
No,
Plus,
I
there
don't
was-
think so.
Plus, there was mention in the information that I found online with the people that were opposed to this, that, it broke, which amendment was it? The cruel and unusual punishment amendment, so I could have gone down that road as well as the case law.
It's a stretch.
Hey,
Don't make a federal case.
The only other thing
it was a federal case, that's why I had the info.
The only other thing I would say, selectively enforced, that could be interpreted many ways, right? Could you just say fines would likely be enforced, not selectively enforced? What does selectively mean? Some homeless people may be fined, others not?
Well, there may be people, depending on the situation, that were not homeless that have broken this bylaw.
And we talked about taking that part out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think,
We talked about taking that.
did you
first
just
section.
remove that,
Yeah, she just removed
the
that.
selectively enforced part?
Yeah, I think I did. That was the
So
sentence I
that's-
just
so that-
changed.
That was removed.
Yeah,
Um,
that
Oh,
was
you're
taken
looking at
out.
the older version? Yeah, I think
Maybe
you're
I
looking at-
am.
Oh, you're looking at the
Yeah.
printer on the
I'm sorry.
screen,
But on
Bill.
the screen, she's
So
taken that
one is the
out.
one I downloaded, okay, if that's not there anymore, that's fine.
No, we just
Yeah,
took,
but she just updated it on the screen.
we just
and
took
she
most of that
removed
sentence out,
great.
Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good proofreading, Bill.
All right, so we're all set on that one?
Down the wrong
Yes.
version.
The other one was, Carrie sent me the minority opinion for the Article 26, and I had written the brief majority opinion. You had made mention, Bob, that we should, reference that we had gotten the letter from the police chief. So that's the majority opinion, and then there's the minority. Carrie, did you want to read your minority?
Sure.
Do you want me to take the yellow off it? Is that better?
No, it's okay, you can leave it.
Okay.
While LTC holders are thoroughly vetted, municipal buildings are shared public spaces that should feel safe and neutral for all residents, employees, seniors, and children. These buildings do not have metal detectors or screening, making the presence of firearms especially concerning. This law reflects a broader effort to reduce the normalization of firearms in civic life and prevent gun violence. We see daily headlines of shootings in schools, workplaces, and houses of worship. Although we live in a state with the second strictest gun laws, we are not immune. This law is a sincere response to that reality, not just another offering of thoughts and prayers. Some raise concerns about firearm theft from vehicles. However, this is already the norm in other gun-free zones like schools and courthouses. Car safes are widely available and affordable, or firearms can be left at home when visiting town hall or other municipal buildings. Leaving a firearm in your vehicle does not make the carrier unsafe, but it does make those inside the building safer. Allowing exemptions would create inconsistent rules across towns, increasing confusion and the risk of accidental violations. We believe a clear, uniform policy prioritizing public safety is the responsible path forward.
So the question is, the majority opinion, do we want to beef it up a little bit, or?
Do I want to beef it up?
Well, I'm saying, put something in with the
I mean, we
police
might.
chief put in.
Well, okay, hang on a second. So the majority opinion is, we support this article following our consultation with Dartmouth Police Chief Brian Levesque, who wrote a detailed letter with his professional assessment to the Finance
Yeah.
Committee on April 10, 2025, stating his endorsement of the proposed warrant article. If this I shouldn't say if, when this becomes a thing at town meeting, anyone could ask the police chief to speak,
Sure.
Okay,
to
yeah.
expand upon
Yeah,
this. And
yeah.
then, the minority opinion can only be modified by Terry and Carrie at this
But
moment.
we might also want to ask the sponsors of the article to speak, because
That's true.
the only thing that I have heard that is a reason for putting this on is that Rochester did it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Who
Who
sponsors?
cares?
It was a member of the select
Why-
board.
Why is Rochester important?
Who cares?
Yes.
I don't know what you mean, Brian.
Well, but I mean, why, so Rochester did it?
No, it's,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
what
that's
Terry is
that's what
referencing
I'm saying.
is
So I
towns
don't
have
know-
just
I-
started to,
Like I've asked, have there
Address
been
this.
incidents, have there been
Right.
complaints of people, having to leave and lock their gun up? That, I haven't heard any of that. The only thing that I heard was that Rochester did it.
Janine, for your majority, we talked a lot, and you talked a lot about how this, that this is a new law and that we've never had to have this within town. Like, it's always been allowed. You may want to add something to that in your majority, that this is, this is the way that we've always done it, like we've
actually
always.
says it in the paragraph above it.
Does it? Oh. I'll read better next time.
Believe me, I love to write 5 paragraphs of stuff. But
Sorry.
I thought I'd keep it to a
Everything in
sentence.
that everybody wanted, I was trying to.
Do you need a graph?
No, it's okay,
Do you
thank
need a
you.
graph?
We could have a graph, I know, but, I love a long, rationale, but
I was combining, my thoughts and Phil's thoughts.
I appreciate the
My-
comment.
Bringing it all together.
No, I'm not making fun of you, believe me, I'm making fun of myself.
I would make the argument that it actually makes this town hall safer if you have licensed people with guns, because, but I don't want to get into a hypothetical. If some nut comes in here and starts shooting up, if there's licensed holders, that's going to end a lot quicker than if you have to call the police.
Potentially could. I think it's a feel-good law. I don't think there's any malintent behind it, but the thing is criminals don't follow the law.
Yeah, they don't
so
follow the law,
You put the
yeah.
law in place, but
Yeah.
if someone wants to come shoot up a town building, there's nothing to stop them.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's true.
And, a metal detector, yeah, would screen out the people with an illegal firearm, but the people that want to protect their license, because if you violate a law,
Fair.
guess what? Your license is gone and you're never getting one back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you can't take that risk where
See
that
your
someone
side.
that doesn't care or has an illegal firearm, they don't care because they're already breaking the law to begin with. And I think that's where it kind of gets dicey, because
Slippery slope.
it's good in theory, but it only really affects the people who follow the law, and that's kind of the premise. And then we can get into the court system where people have gun charges and drug charges and everything gets thrown out, or probation, and it just goes downhill.
I guess the question, because I don't like to use hypotheticals, but that's one of the reasons I voted for it. But should we add the Chief Levesque's letter to this, or?
The whole letter?
I
No,
guess
I
not.
think it's too long.
I mean, I think having him speak at town meeting would be enough, personally. That's my thought, versus attaching the whole letter to this. But it's not, I'm not the only
So-
person on this
so-
committee.
So the letter was to us, right?
Correct,
Specifically to us?
correct,
Yes, which I've
It wasn't
shared,
to select.
I've shared it with select board.
Okay,
right. And
okay.
they haven't had any meetings, because I know the last time this came up, they did not discuss it
Yeah, they'll be
much.
talking it. They'll be
They
talking
discussed it briefly.
Okay, all right.
I think there'll
Well,
be
let town
opportunity
meeting-
at town meeting
Town meeting, all
to
right, let town meeting
discuss.
decide.
I
Okay.
think that was it, yes,
Okay,
okay.
okay.
So the only thing we're waiting on, obviously, is the budget stuff. And I sent this out to everybody so they could see the draft I wrote of that, but that's just a plug in a number rationale.
Okay,
Okay?
do away with the yellow.
I'm not doing away with the yellow on
Oh,
the
no,
budget
no,
stuff.
no.
No, I did already. Everything's
Yeah,
good,
Okay, okay,
unless we vote on that.
okay, let's get to the letter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, one thing, Mr. Chairman, this just came across. So because I had settled the DTEA contract, which is the municipal workers within Town Hall, and some also at DCTV and other locations, there are, because DCTV is an enterprise fund, there was a change to their budget, a very small amount. So like we did last week, when we do police and then we do laborers, if I get those done, there will be no change to any of the enterprise funds, so you'll be voting that through Schedule A.
Yeah.
So Article 15, the amendment is for $6,483 for the increase in the budget, which is $627,945 right now. And so that's increased by $6,483. So the new amount for DCTV is $629,945.
All right, so let's just take a step back. So what article is it?
Article 15,
Article 15,
it's funding DCTV,
CCTV, and how much is the additional?
$6,483 even.
6,483. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to amend Article 15 DCTV to add $6,483 to the,
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
okay, so
Terry
uh,
made the motion.
made a motion, Bill, to add the expense?
Expense and the revenues.
Expense and the revenue. Bill second. Any discussion? Okay, none? Let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so you're all set.
That's it, yeah. Well, I'll send you, once we get a new draft, we're still in the draft that we have, but I'll update that, you get that.
I know, but it now changes our vote number.
Oh,
Well,
and
it's
then
an amendment though, right?
changes the vote number?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Well, for our rationales, where we list the votes, so
Oh,
we-
right, 'cause this-
we had voted recommend 8-0, so now we're 7?
7-0-0, yeah.
Okay. That's all,
Good catch.
because I never read the numbers as
Right.
far as the sums.
So that's all we have, and then it'll be Schedule A.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
all right. Oops, don't need the warrant, don't need the folder. All right, the letter. I'm not going to read all this. Terry sent me some very nice edits. I incorporated them, minor
To
things.
feedback from you, which I appreciate.
Minor things as far as, whatever, some of the verbiage. I think Terry was making me use smaller words.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
I remember what you said about how to write the letter, and I saw that some of them were changes to smaller words. That's right. So not, all of that's pretty much the same. I added in the paragraphs that Bob, that's from last week, we approved them. This is the actual schedule that he wanted included.
Oh, that come out pretty good.
Yeah,
It did.
yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, I had Donna Fernandez double check the numbers,
Yeah.
and there were some changes.
Right.
So, you know, the numbers, the highlight is revenue, residential revenue is 4.4, and state revenue is 2.2. So total revenues of 4.1, and that kind of will,
Yeah, these are the actuals.
this will be the precursor to Brian's argument that the state isn't supporting, because I saw some of the stuff that Brian saw, that how much New Bedford gets and stuff like that. But, and I think the thing that's, you know, the surprise, here's the surprise, general government, 11.3%, and property and liability insurance.
You know, this is good because what I'm gonna talk about in my presentation, which will be about 5 minutes, are the projections. So it'd be, we'll leave the actuals up to
Yeah, yeah.
this discussion, if we wanna bring this up at the, meeting.
Oh,
I'm
Monday's
gonna bring this
meeting?
up at
I'm
the
gonna bring
meeting.
this up at the meeting.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
but,
Have we switched into Monday's meeting format, or what are we doing?
this is the, no, this is, we're talking
we're
about.
gonna go, we're going
Yeah.
over this in the meeting.
Yeah.
In the select board meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, I mean, so I'm gonna do a presentation brief on the projections for FY '26, the trends that we've seen over the last couple of years, and some recommendations that I'm making. Other than that, if the committee wants to talk about the actuals, I think that I'll leave that piece to the committee. And then maybe segue into the other pieces. Because they're also gonna probably have questions, I mean, obviously they're gonna have questions too.
Okay.
The select board will. But they've already been given these topics. I've already given this to the select board and talked to the chair about it.
Okay, good.
Okay, so then we have some verbiage.
So, on this, well, it's
Yeah.
the couple paragraphs that you wrote, that's before it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
This, as mandated by law, that's where you wrote, right? And then we recognize the need to review actuals. Okay, that's before it. I didn't, as I mentioned earlier, Bob, if I put it on the same page,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would have shrunk down to,
Oh, yeah, no, I got you, yeah, that's- yeah,
would have been kind of
Yeah,
tiny. So
yeah.
this way, it got its own
yeah.
page.
Yeah, and,
And then we go into the report that follows.
okay, can I just say one thing before we move on?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I just want to point out that that schedule that I did does not include school construction.
Yep.
And it does not include debt
Oh, yeah, it
service.
says it up there, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Include what?
they're not, and the reason for that is they're managed different. They're not managed. These are actual everyday expenses. But debt is a decision that's made
Yeah, it's outside
for
the.
many, many years.
Right, yeah.
And school construction, obviously, that's a major decision, so this is the day-to-day.
Is the police construction in there?
No,
No. So no.
This is just
capital.
operations.
just
It's
operations.
operational.
Day-to-day
Okay.
operations.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Yeah, that explanation is the last
Yeah,
sentence.
no, but
of your-
I just
yeah.
want to remind everybody here.
So it's no
Yeah.
capital.
Okay.
Back to this. All right, so now we lead into things we normally had. So here's a question that Terry brought up to me, actually. So Gary, do we want in this sentence, including how funds are spent, the plans for capital expenses, the amount in, do we want to say free cash or unrestricted cash?
I would leave it free cash because that's the buzzword that everybody knows is free cash.
Yeah.
Okay,
They're really both the same, but it's,
yep, that's all right.
Well, it's
It
a
was a
buzzword
question.
if you're involved in municipalities.
yeah, I
If
think
you're-
town meeting.
If you're a
is-
normal citizen, free
No,
cash.
right.
Well, no,
And I think
right.
town meeting members understand
never liked
free
that
cash.
term.
No, right, it's not free.
Yeah,
It's true, everybody thinks it's a giant
But
bank
this
account.
guy-
Consistent, I think it's,
Yeah,
All right, so that was it. And then this was the same without any new numbers.
yeah, that's, right now it stands at 108.1 million,
108.1.
108.1.
All right.
And the increase?
3.9,
I don't expect Gary to know that off the top of his head.
I've got, not with me. 3.5% at the current,
3.5 increase?
yes.
And that's subject to change based upon the
Based on
contract.
if I sell the next two contracts.
Okay,
Which
so
would
it's-
probably raise it up, maybe it'll go to 3.6, or might even stay the same.
I'm gonna leave it like that then, right
All
now,
right,
till
so-
we know,
so
those
these
are
notes-
finals.
yeah,
I leave them where they are right now.
So the
I am.
108.1 could change too, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so why don't you leave
Yeah,
that?
Just
So
leave it
I
where
have
it
a
is.
question. I don't know. So when I looked at the DLS figures, they gave a 20, this is for 20, oh, 26, okay.
Yeah.
They gave 25, all right. Now I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not current.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so that's still things that have to be modified.
Well, can you go up just a little bit to 4.6
Yep.
million? Please, no, for the state county assessments. Yeah, that's gonna have to get updated. I have those numbers. Some recommended salary, this is 14.7 million. Yeah, those numbers there are pretty much correct, but I leave them highlighted for now.
All right, those are the numbers from last year.
Yeah, those are 2.9 million, I'll confirm those.
Mm-hmm.
But the 108 still needs, like I said.
Okay, so the capital budget, 680, 867 is still good?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's actually from the
That's
warrant.
the sheet, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I left those
Okay.
unhighlighted. So I thought that this is where we insert the charts.
Yeah.
Okay, which
so
I did not do.
Brian had sent a couple of,
He did, I
Charts.
looked at them briefly.
there was one that you sent later on, it was on, was it economic development?
I sent,
Because you sent one that
I
had.
sent, on April 22nd, I sent an email that outlined,
Yeah, it was economic, that was the last one you sent.
yeah, and then that one, is that what you're talking about, or something else?
Yeah.
That one had Dartmouth general
fund
fund
expenditures.
expenditures, 215 to 230.
So are those the charts we want in?
Well, I sent them because I thought they would fit, but everybody else has to decide too. Do you want me to put it up there?
Well, yeah, I've got it, you can just switch over to Janine, but I think that what we liked about these charts last week was there were actually explanations in the charts.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember, we talked about
Right.
like.
Yeah, we eliminated,
descriptions.
we
Yeah,
eliminated a couple
so
too.
I felt confident with the charts that were here.
Okay, so do you want me to,
Yeah, but it's just
Mind if
dragging these
No, of course not.
PDFs into that
yeah,
document.
well, let me show it to you, and then we'll decide what we want to keep. Yeah, it's-
Oh, you need the whole gizmo, don't you? Sorry.
yeah, I need to get some.
I forgot you need the whole thing. There you go.
The best.
Hang on a second.
I should get myself a hub. All right. So does this automatically do something?
Yes, it'll automatically switch for you, because it did last time.
You know, or it just shuts off. Or it just shuts off. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this shows from 2016 with a projection from 2024 to 2030, general fund expenditure, the actual and projected. Projections are based on a 3.23 change over the historical data. So it just projects out. So the data summary is the growth analysis is compound annual growth, CAGR, from 215 to 224 is 3.23%, which is in line with what you had up there a few minutes ago, 3.5. Projection method extended CAGR applied to 2025 to 230. 215 expenditure, this data comes, by the way, from DLS, 77 million and change, 24 expenditure, 102 million and change, projected 124.5, total growth 2015 to 230, 61%. So
So,
So that just shows that the budget's forecasting expenditures. are
Yeah, that's
forecasted.
pretty accurate because of my 5-year projection, I'll get 4, well, I had the 5. In year 2029, I'm at like 123 million. So add another year, yeah.
Okay, so that would be just a trend chart in the beginning.
okay, so,
Sorry.
so the blue, you know, what confuses me is like the blue line.
I-
The blue line and the red, you know.
Well, what happened is
this
Claude refused to change
Change, okay.
the red on the actual to a different color.
I mean, it'll pick it up with a color copy.
Yeah, but it doesn't really, oh, it is red all the way through, though.
No, you can see the.
Yeah, yeah, but I would say the reds are dots and the blue is the
Just the
line,
line.
you know?
I couldn't, I
So
found
they
it.
equal the same, you know, so, but, okay, no, I mean, it's good.
Okay, then the second one was Dartmouth Single Family Tax Bill 2016 to 2031. This is again, historical bills from 2016 to I can't even read this because my eyes are so bad, projected. And then average single-family home, it gives a particular.
Did you get that from the DLS?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I know there's the median and there's the average. We don't use the median, we use the.
I used
we use the
that,
average.
I used average.
I mean,
So all this really shows is that to support that budget, the tax bill is going to go up.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Gary, the new multi-family, multi-unit housing, is that taxed,
40B?
is it taxed at the residential or the commercial?
We're talking about 40B?
Any of it. There's one down
On
on
Dartmouth
Dartmouth
Street.
Street.
one down
that's not.
Dartmouth Street, that Carney's,
So the property is taxed, and then how those individual units pay that, it must be.
No, I
an
know, but is
assessment.
it taxed residential or is it taxed commercial?
I'd have to check the rules. I think it's taxed residential
Okay.
on the value of the entire property. But like on the 40Bs, like there's mixed use, so they have a 40B project that has individual homes, those are taxed on a residential rate.
Right, okay.
So I can verify that.
I think the reason this is here is just to say that it's going to be an increased burden on residential.
And that's from the state,
That's from the DLS.
DLS is the one
okay.
with 6 right?
okay, and with Proposition 2.5, that we're
Not factored in,
not factored at all, no?
because there is no, we haven't got one, so
What do you mean?
we're not,
2.5 applies to the whole levy, not.
Yeah, so the increases here are based on us taxing at the max levy.
yeah,
I'm
at the
assuming that's
current,
what-
yeah, it's got
Okay.
nothing to do with it,
Okay, okay,
because we haven't passed one, so.
Yeah, well, no, that would be an override. This is just the data here is based on the normal levy that we tax at.
Right.
For commercial
And then
residential.
looking at what the compound annual growth was actually, and applying it going forward.
so this is without 2.5,
Right,
override,
right.
okay.
Well, no, there's two different things. There's an override and there's 2.5. An override is not factored here.
That's what I'm saying.
2.5.
2.5 should
It's
be
hard,
factored.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it has to be in there.
Yeah. 2.5
the-
has to be
the 2.5 is
factored.
already in here, but an override is
Has
not.
to be.
No.
Yeah, okay, we're talking,
2.5
yeah,
has to be in there.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's what the increases you see.
Yeah,
every year.
exactly.
yeah, okay,
It's governed by that.
all right.
So this was all my suggestion of how to project what our conclusions are based on. So the next one was Dartmouth per capita income analysis, 2000 to 2025. And it says Dartmouth's nominal per capita actual monetary income, not adjusted for inflation, grew from 24,000 and change in 2000 to an estimated 52,000 and change in 2025, representing a 114% increase over 25 years. When adjusted for inflation in 2023 dollars, The real income growth was more modest, from 44,000 and change to 52,000 and change, or a 17% total increase. The compound annual growth rate of 3.09 for nominal income, but only 6.2 for real income, showing the significance of the impact of inflation. 2020 to 2023 period shows a decline in real income despite nominal growth, reflecting high inflation in the period. When adjusted for local cost of living, the 2023 per capita income of 49 and change is equivalent to only 37 and change in areas with average U.S. costs. So it means that,
This came off the DLS.
yeah, this came off DLS, and basically just saying that while it's gone up in nominal terms, really it's gone down because of inflation. So it calls into question, if you're thinking about getting most of your money to run town government from residential, it's going to be more of a strain on people to actually give us that money.
Yeah, this is better than last year's graph. Remember, last year's graph was like,
Yeah,
kind
because,
of dropped off the.
yeah.
Right.
So that first line, 114% over 25 years,
Yeah,
is 4.56 average.
yeah.
That's the average. At nominal income. That's,
So it just basically says that it's going to be tougher to pay for the taxes, pay for town government with the taxes going up. The next one was on the population trends by age group and how that impacts the ability to pay. And it says the median age in Dartmouth has increased from 43.2 in 2015 to 45.9. Significant growth in the senior population, 65 to 74 age group, has increased by 35.3%, and the 55 to 64% age group has grown by 21.4%. These groups probably rely on fixed incomes. Notable decreases in 45 to 54 age group has declined by 21%. This group typically is the group that's in their peak earning potential and represents a crucial part of the tax base. The 75 plus age group has decreased by 12.3%. The under 18% has decreased by 7.2%. There's been a modest increase, 12.1%, in the young adult population, 25 to 34. So it just says the tax burden falling on the age groups within town, the ability to pay for people with restricted income is probably going to be a greater burden than it has been in the past. And also of notable concern is the younger people leaving, because they're in their prime income earning and tax-paying years.
okay. So 25 to 34 is prime age for having kids? Is that-
No, it's a notable decreases in 45 to 54 age group has declined by 21%. So I didn't make any claims about having
Okay,
children.
okay. All right.
Because I know where you're going, because it's going to increase the schools, and
School, yeah,
therefore it's
yeah.
going to, but I do make a statement later on that talks about increases in that group puts more demand on the system for using services than they put in for
Services, true.
taxes.
Yeah.
So this is just basically showing that in 65 to 74, the age group is spiked. Or
No, it's
spiking.
going up.
Yeah, it's
going
Actually,
up.
two of the older groups are going up, 65 to 74 and 55 to 64 are going up. So we're becoming, and then the median age moving from 43.2 to 45.9 means we're becoming an older community. And what that means in demographic terms, I don't know, because I'm not I would interpret that. But what it does mean is that the groups that are going up are in fixed incomes. and therefore increases in the budget or expenditures are going to be very difficult for those people.
Okay.
Okay. Town of Dartmouth state aid. This is only to say, by the time you get through looking at inflation, et cetera, they're actually paying us a lot less. And inflation has significantly eroded the purchasing power of state aid.
Does it,
Sorry.
does it, what does it assume for an inflation rate going forward? Is it down here? I can't,
Annual growth rate is 2.17. When adjusted for inflation, decreased by 8.57.
so a net,
But these are actuals. right?
These are actual.
It's not projections.
No, these,
oh, right, this is historic.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is historic. And then the projection is based on the historic.
But you would think that if in fact both of those remain, state aid would remain the same. If inflation moves up or down either way, that this graph would trend out almost the same thing for a number of years, depending on the inflation rate, because we know state aid is stagnant.
Right.
It's
But
it's only gonna get worse.
yeah, well, all
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
saying is that even though it nominally looks like it's a lot of money, by the time you apply
Realistically, it isn't,
inflation,
yeah.
it's not a lot. Well, it's not as much.
Yeah, I think
nominal.
this is a good, a key graph to keep in there.
Yeah, no, it's very, and it kind of supports the numbers that I threw up there.
Yeah, and it also ratifies the fact of like long-term, when we talk about projects now in today's dollars compared to where they're gonna be in 5 to 10 years when we go to actually shovel in the ground, you know?
Right.
What is it gonna cost to build a school, maybe 5 to
It's
10
going to
years?
be a lot more than,
Right,
Of course.
and then that plays in fact with the, you know, the rate and borrowing and this and that, so.
okay, Dartmouth property class as a percentage of total new growth. This really shows that, the blue line shows that that's residential, and our reliance on regional tax levy is going up, and the amount that commercial and industrial contribute are going down. And as a result of that, the implications of being reliant on residential are tax base vulnerability. It's Dartmouth's increasing reliance on residential property for new growth creates potential vulnerability as economic downturns affecting the housing market could significantly impact town revenues. Service demands, residential properties typically, this is the point you were talking about, residential properties typically demand more municipal services, schools, public safety, infrastructure than they generate in tax revenue compared to commercial and industrial properties. And fiscal imbalance, the declining share of commercial and industrial new growth may lead to increasing tax pressure on residential property owners over time. And finally, limited diversification of the town's growth increasingly is tied to residential market cycle, reducing economic diversification. So basically, it's just saying that it's not a good thing to be having most of your eggs in one basket, especially one that's subject to the ups and downs of the market, and sets us up potentially for problems.
And I think it maybe also addresses the fact that, as the committee's talked about before, and which I have as part of one of the agenda items on the select board's meeting for Monday night, the regrouping of the economic development committee.
Right, well, it sets us up for
Yeah.
an economic development.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I brought up to the chair, and I think that we need to look at that again, and look at maybe reaching out to the commercial base in the community and
Yeah.
talking to them.
Well,
Ideas
well,
they have.
anyhow, so this sets up, I think, what the main message we want to get across, which is hiring of somebody to do grants, and then also economic development.
Yeah. I don't know about the tax base vulnerability. What's your opinion? Because I'm just gonna throw some round numbers out.
You're talking on this chart here?
Yeah, see tax base vulnerability? Say the tax base, say is $1 billion in Dartmouth, right? And we are we tax $100 million on that $1 billion. If the valuations of the go down to 900 million,
I know what you're getting at. It has to always
It's still-
equal 100, it has to
so
always
that's
equal
on
1 million.
100, yeah,
100
so,
million, yeah.
so,
Let me read that again. Dollars increasing the lines.
When is the last time we saw a decrease in property revenues? Was it 2008, or was it before then?
Well, what would affect, so, to Bob's point, let's say well, we have a $7 billion asset, property asset in town, both commercial and residential. So if that levy equals 78 million, we tax at the full levy. So you have to collect $78 million. So how that gets split between residential and commercial, if commercial goes this way, residential has to go this way, because it always has to equal 78
yeah.
million. So the only thing that would increase that is an override.
Yeah.
And then we add new growth to that, and then any kind of
So,
debt exclusion, but that's not,
right. So to your point, that's the vulnerability.
the
Is-
the
is-
vul-
Vulnerability is
the
that.
vulnerability is
commercial-
if the market goes south, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We collect less of a levy in a sense,
well, that's what I'm, yeah.
you know. But if we have a $78 million levy, we always have to be able to collect 78 million, but the risk is the market goes this way, now values go down. That $7 billion value is
It's
now
gonna be lower.
6.5 billion, we collect less of a levy, so
That's
in some
right.
essence, this is,
but
this is,
wouldn't- would-
No, that's not-
all right, so,
that's not much.
all right, so I'm trying to use round numbers. Say it's $1 billion, and your tax levy is 100 million.
million.
100 million, right? And the values of the houses go down to $900 million. So the base is lower.
residential,
Residential.
Both,
residential, commercial.
both, right? So your 100 million, you're gonna add to 2.5% next year, no matter what the values are.
Not necessarily. Why do you have to, if people can't afford to pay the 2.5, you've got to cut back.
Well, no, that's
Well,
a lot.
affordability and what we tax are two different things.
Yeah,
If, we would collect less of a levy if the market went, if, the value of that levy could potentially
Right.
decrease.
Hey.
But we would always collect the full levy, whatever that amount is.
That's what.
But historically,
Yeah,
the levy has always increased by 2.5%, always.
but,
It's never gone the other way. Your bill may go lower because the shift is from your bill to commercial now, but the levy will always be the levy.
yeah,
That makes,
But therein lies the problem with vulnerability. I mean, the shifting of commercial to residential, it exposes either one or the other.
correct,
That's the vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
yeah. I mean,
I don't know, I
how it
just,
states it here, Douglas increasing lines in residential property
the value,
impact town revenues.
the value go up, but the amount that the town's gonna collect is not,
Yeah.
it's gonna go up 2.5% no matter
Right, I
what.
think what maybe this is probably should say is that the potential of an economic downturn could affect somebody's ability to pay the bill. You know, that could be, that's a loss in revenue. But the revenues, as far as the levy is concerned, will always remain the same, whatever that levy
Yeah,
amount
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We
mean-
collect
I mean-
99.8%
Right,
of the levy.
either commercial, residential, even or
Right.
off.
We collect 99.8% of the levy. Now, if it's an economic downturn, we could probably
Well, that's what it
collect
says.
99%
It
of the
says,
levy.
as economic downturn affecting housing could significantly impact.
Yeah,
the
it does say it.
But wouldn't the town revenue stay the same? It just could put more of a burden on residential? So
No,
it could
because
shift the burden?
my understanding, the way I read it
either way,
is, the
residential
value
or
of the house
commercial.
goes, of the residential housing goes down,
Yeah,
you're not gonna collect the same amount. of
Well, he's.
tax.
Right, but if the levy is 78 million, let's say 100 million, for instance.
Yeah.
100 million, your value of your house goes down, it's picked up on the commercial side, because we always
Well, then,
tax at
yeah,
the,
but that's
max
still
level.
vulnerability, because you're putting
Well, that's
more,
what-
you're
yeah.
putting more,
the burden shifts.
yeah, but you're putting more burden on a declining sector.
I mean,
But it
Yeah.
seems like that should be mentioned maybe in one of the other points, that the burden goes to commercial.
Yeah, but it also should be mentioned here, the ability to pay. There's a difference between the ability to pay.
Yeah, well, I think you can debate that. I mean, the common wisdom is that if you're old and you're on a fixed, older people on a fixed income, but that isn't.
yeah, I
So
look
that's
at-
debatable.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the tax base as commercial and residential, I
Mm-hmm.
don't, you know, the tax base is a tax base, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah, but-
town's ability to collect.
And there's a,
Let's
I
put it this
don't,
way.
I don't think you can,
98% of the people in, 98% of the people in the town meeting wouldn't pick up on that. But, you know, from being involved with this, I understand
Yeah.
that the tax base goes up every year, 2.5%, no matter what.
yeah. The economic conditions that would attribute to them not paying is the ability, because they, you know, the revenue that we collect could not be now 99.8%, it would be 99.4%.
well,
Less
all right, so
revenues.
here, you two rewrite it the way you think it goes, all right, because I disagree. And then, but then if you're gonna do that, then you have to say it switches it to, the tax burden switches to commercial and industrial,
Well, that's-
which is already
Yeah.
getting hammered.
That's the
That's
vulnerability.
the
So
crux.
they're not gonna be able to
Yeah.
pay, and people may leave.
No, I think that is a
companies may-
point.
Companies may leave town,
The shift, we call it the shift.
you know, the shift,
From one
yeah, so.
population to the other, but the levy is always the levy.
It's also a critical point, as we know, people love to talk about our low tax base, but they completely overlook who we're hammering.
All right,
And maybe, I have no idea, but maybe that decline, well, some of it is because of COVID for the commercial, but who knows? I mean, the industrial is down too, and how much of the commercial is down?
You're talking in 2020?
All of it,
Well,
yeah.
well, it starts
Yeah, well,
at 20,
I mean,
yeah.
if you drew a trend line along those lines, they'd be
all
down.
right. All right, I don't want to do,
Well, I think if we can,
I think I'm being too picky.
but, I mean, if somebody brings it up, you can
Okay.
discuss it.
So question, are these the only charts that will be in the letter? Is that correct?
I would say that that's,
Yeah,
Is that what we decide? I only say that before I start.
there's a lot to, yeah, there's a lot.
yeah. There's a lot, I think with these charts this year, there's a lot of detail.
Oh, the details are
And
great.
there's a lot of reading, so I think even Terry mentioned the point, we don't want to
Overburden them, that's right.
put too much in here where it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Well, it makes me think personally, with all the detail that's with these beautiful charts, is we may have to have less detail in our letter. Because it's all nice and visual now. You know, we have something to introduce it, of course, but may
Yeah.
have less information because it's all here and very clear.
So we would add the charts in that section there, these charts.
yeah,
Correct.
and that's the last one?
That's the last one I have.
Okay, okay.
So that's what I wanted to ask before.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for
haven't
doing
put them
that,
in
Brian.
because I wasn't sure. So 6 charts, okay.
Yeah.
Good. They're nice.
Yeah, they come out nice, Brian.
Yeah, they did. Very nice.
Tell Claude we said thank you.
So,
Yeah, but,
listen, I'm his master, so you
He's-
have to
he's the
thank me
master.
too.
Okay.
Gonna send us a
Master
bill.
Son.
Do you ever see that Al Pacino movie where he comes and goes, "Oh, you're just my little friend"?
let me introduce you to my little friend, yeah.
You want me to take this back?
Oh,
Are you all
are we
set or
gonna,
no?
so, all right. So this is for the letter, right?
Correct.
For the graph, the
Okay.
chart section.
Yeah, you can disconnect me.
Okay.
So what do we, I'm still. So I had a prelude to this thing that I wrote, and I forget why I wrote it. Hold on.
What, are you going to want to show something again?
No, this. So I had written this, I'd like to suggest that our, this is the basis also, besides being in this thing, as the presentation to the select board, I think.
Yeah,
And then when you end it, it sets us up for recommending how to mitigate on some level. And this is where we would talk about, after that, hiring a grant writer and economic development. That's the way I saw it, but I mean, this is at the select board meeting. So you'd have, do we have a facility to put these things up on?
Right here.
Oh, okay. And who's going to speechify?
Well, I'll be speaking so I'm gonna start the meeting off with, the, presentation that I have for, which is not complete yet, it's almost done, for the, outlook for 26.
Yep.
And beyond. So then I'll turn it over to the committee. If someone wants to, I mean, I can run the projector if somebody wants to speak on it. You don't have to get up there and speak, we're gonna probably be down here.
yeah,
If you wanna
Yeah, but I mean, I'll do it, but I mean, then I'm also doing the economic thing too. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you had decided
Well, we're
last week
gonna-
we
we're
were going to
gonna-
talk about
Well, we'll
long-term
do
capital.
we'll kind of read the letter to them, right? I mean.
Yeah, that's
and then-
fine.
And then when we get to those charts, then Brian will do
I'll do,
the
Yeah.
charts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
I don't think there needs to be a separate presentation on grants. I think it's involved in what you're talking about here. I mean, what you're bringing up
okay,
with the
so
economic
then we're
development.
gonna have to do economic development.
I think the whole point of what you put together for charts and graphs is to say, you need some economic
need some-
development.
I'm
mitigation.
speaking on economic development, well, like I mentioned, at the meeting, but also in my presentation. So I think if the committee.
Well, I've got I don't know if I shared it, but I've got a whole
Yeah, you should.
presentation
Well, you did with
on
me.
no, I've got one on economic development, on what should be done. I
well,
don't-
what about the thing you sent me showing
Yeah, you could send out a graph.
the money that the different towns, you did it two ways, the surrounding towns, how much state aid they get,
Yeah,
and then how much similar towns get.
yeah.
Is that something we want to bring up with the
No,
select board?
it's, because they don't, we don't have any control over it.
Well, Brian, you sent out a whole package
That was
here
the
with the
thing I
graph.
sent. That was
and
just to
some
answer a
ideas.
question.
Yeah,
Oh, that was
So
you?
why don't I share this with the select board?
yeah, well, which,
On
because is
Monday.
it?
You just sent it this
Oh,
today.
I forgot.
I did?
Yeah, it says economic, why we need it,
Oh, okay. Hold
recommendation,
on, let me just see.
key elements.
What,
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, okay,
So
so,
why don't I share that with the select board?
well, that's my
When I give
opinion.
them-
Has everybody else had a chance to look at it?
Who did you send it to?
I sent it to everybody, I think.
when was
Probably
this,
sick of
when did
looking
you
at
send
my
this
graph.
out?
Yeah, you sent it to everybody, yes.
Okay, so I'm looking, which one is it? I forget, I've sent
It was
so many.
sent, oh, no, it was actually sent Tuesday at 10 o'clock.
Tuesday at 10 o'clock,
This is
which
the
was
one I
what
have,
date?
I guess.
20,
Tuesday was
Yeah,
the
hold on.
22nd?
oh, economic presentation, is that right?
So you wanted to do that on the 28th?
Hold on, when was it?
10:15 in the morning.
Yep.
On the 22nd. Oh, economic presentation, yeah, I don't care, yeah, sure, give it to them.
Because I left the agenda item on their agenda.
Okay, so you wanna present that?
I can share it with them.
Yeah,
It won't
fine.
be it won't be as part of your, I mean, you can prelude into it, or maybe touch a little bit on it, but I can bring it up at their meeting, the regular scheduled meeting on Monday. So you can decide how you want to do it. I think that maybe with these topics, grant writing, who's going to speak on that? Oh, okay, Carrie's going to speak on that. And then short, long-term capital,
Say
So-
again?
short, long-term capital, were you going to do that, Terry?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess what
just
I'm confused
thinking-
about-
I'm just thinking we're gonna have limited time, and
Yeah.
to switch from one person to another could be unnecessary, but I don't
I would
know.
say at least 25 minutes, a half an hour.
Okay.
For
Okay,
everybody.
That's enough time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then economic development, we can touch on some of this that you've presented here.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I mean, except I have that whole thing that I did that you just referenced, which talks about, hold on. Lost
This
it
is the
again.
last time we're meeting before Monday night, right?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to, so what this does is it talks about tax-based vulnerability again and service demands.
I have it up on the screen,
Oh, you
Brian,
do? Oh, sorry.
if you want to go through it briefly.
Okay, so I start off with the chart that shows we have an over-reliance on residential and a declining commercial, an increasing residential tax base, bill base, and then a decreasing tax bill base for commercial and industrial. So then I get into implications of why we need it. Increasing reliance on residential property for new growth creates potential vulnerability. So we covered that on the previous one. Why we need it. Challenge of rising costs on municipal services in towns reliant on residential taxes. Primary challenge is to maintain service levels while keeping tax burden manageable to residents. So the possible impacts of relying on the residential tax base while trying to keep the burdens manageable to residents is potential service reductions, like recreational program, library hours, community events, infrastructure deterioration. We're already experiencing that. Deferred maintenance on roads, water systems, public facilities leads to more costly repairs going forward. Staffing challenges, we're already experiencing that. Difficulty attracting and retaining qualified personnel when wages can't keep up with inflation or competing employers.
For service reduction, do we want to say on non-essential services?
Oh, yeah, non-essential. Well, yeah,
Good.
recreation centers and libraries and community, they're non-essential. They're not like keep the toilets flushing and the refuse going out. But those are the ones people are gonna notice.
Yeah.
Decreased, you could see increased fees, which we've talked about in previous meetings, and administrative burden, reduced staff, handle increased workloads with fewer resources. I think we're seeing that too. So this is, this whole idea of economic development, and I'm gonna update this. Terry sent me another one. I'll update it tomorrow morning. There's been 4 studies that were turned into the town that nothing is really, as far as I can figure out, has happened on, with the possible exception of the last one, which is the economic corridor thing that Serped did, which essentially was to move some of the traffic around in different patterns. But it reiterated the whole point of the importance of Route 6 corridor potentially to Dartmouth, that we could develop it. Then there was another study that was done reimagining the Dartmouth retail corridor in December of 2015. And then the UMass, one of the things that UMass did was another study in 2007 that UMass did, talked about retirement communities, university-based retirement communities, which a lot of towns do, which is essentially, not a lot of towns, but towns with universities in them are essentially housing built around the university that services older or younger people. But it's usually done in corridors that need revitalization. And then Terry sent me another one where, I don't know who hired them, but Northeastern University, the Dukakis
The
Center,
select board did.
Oh, they
The town
did.
administrator and the select board.
2015 laid out a plan on how to approach economic development on the Route 6 corridor, which I don't think anything was done with. I'll redo that and send it out to you tomorrow morning.
Some of the spelling, like Serped, and I saw
Yeah, Serped.
misspelling on the prior
Oh,
page.
okay, yeah. This is not, for some reason, this is the latest one I did, but, I mean, it follows the general. I'll send out the latest one.
Yeah.
And then economic development, so it's to residents and town meeting members, since that's our constituency.
Brian, I just had a thought that it might be helpful to look at those studies and see if you can pull out 1 or 2 things that are in all 4. Just to say, this was recommended, this was recommended, this was recommended.
Good
Oh, okay.
Good
Yeah,
idea.
I haven't, I'll do that.
Know
And
what
I
I'm
have to, there's another version of this. I sent you. I don't know
I'm
what
not
one.
talking about doing analysis.
No.
I'm just saying it would be helpful
I'll
to
skim
point out
them
to
and look for
people.
what they recommend.
We've had this
Like, all of them
information.
talk about the
Yeah.
traffic, rearranging the traffic
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
All of them talk about not the right words, beautifying the area.
Yeah.
All of them talk about senior housing
Yeah.
going in.
Exactly.
It'd be interesting to see too, how this all fits into the master plan. And like what the reconciliation between this and what's been recommended in the master plan plays out. I mean, I don't know, we did the master plan, I think, a year ago or 2 years ago now. And, people always, well, it's a document that just, we do it, then it sits on a shelf. Nobody pays attention to it. So
Yep.
I'm sure that somewhere in that master plan, and I'm starting to read through it, where
I'm
does
sure, yeah.
economic development fall? And I'm sure it's there,
So anyhow, immediately call for the creation and implementation of an economic development plan which will help mitigate over-reliance on residential tax bills to deliver services to the town, and which provides balanced economic growth with community character while improving safety, aesthetics, and overall viability of the Route 6 corridor. So it's to get shaken. So what the key elements of such a plan would be situation analysis, talking about what sort of capital, maybe this does what you're looking for, I'll read it. Current situation analysis, the plan should cement Dartmouth's position as a regional shopping destination with a commercial district comprising both local and nationally recognized businesses. It should feature major national retailers and the proximity to UMass, whose students create a major impact on the local economy. Infrastructure improvements. The plan should incorporate findings from the Serped study, which examined traffic conditions, intersection operations, bicycle pedestrian facilities, and overall safety concerns among the routes of corridor from Westport to Cross Road in Dartmouth. It recommends specific improvements to address these issues. Economic development issues. The plan should proactively enhance Dartmouth's participation in the Massachusetts state-funded economic development program, seek out and sell companies in healthcare and healthcare technology, marine technology, and the blue economy, and retail innovators on moving to Route 6 corridor. Enact mixed-use zoning and negotiate tax increment financing agreements, which have successfully attracted major companies in other towns. Implementation strategy. The plan should increase the phased approach, should include a phased approach with specific actions, responsible parties, funding mechanism, and metrics to evaluate and ensure effective implementation. And so the conclusion, the economic development plan for Dartmouth 26 corridor should aim to transform the area into a vibrant, sustainable commercial district that serves local residents while attracting regional visitors. Build on Dartmouth's existing strengths as a regional shopping destination and strategic location in southeastern Massachusetts. Enhance infrastructure supporting business growth, improving aesthetics, and creating a cohesive identity for the corridor while maintaining Dartmouth's character. Reduce the reliance on residential funding of town expenditures to provide services. So you're
That's a
going to...
conclusion, yeah.
That's good content.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I changed it around a little bit. I'll send you the most current one.
If you send that to me, I can maybe put it in
Yeah.
their packet.
I'll send it.
Something to look at.
Good idea.
So I want to, if we're going to do that sort of stuff, I want to credit the FinCom with this somehow. I think I did.
It's coming from us.
Yeah, I know, but I'm looking for the one.
But you meant like a,
I'm looking for the one, hold on a second, I don't know where this one went.
a title, a slide.
Yeah, hold on. I might have done one, I'm not sure. Let's see. File. FinCom, economic development. 428. Hold on. I did one version, they credited us with this, I just gotta find it. Economic development, economic charts, finance. I can't find it.
I mean, it can be as simple as putting it in the title.
Well, that's what I did.
No.
You see
No, a
this
title
area?
slide.
Yeah, up here, what I did was I put economic development and then finance committee underneath.
You can also, having made many PowerPoints in my day, in the bottom, you know, you can carry over your footnote.
Yeah, I can't find it.
You can have Finance Committee 2025.
Yeah, okay, that's what,
On every single page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will do that, I will do that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the
So I'll
easiest.
send you another one tomorrow morning, Gary?
Yeah, if you send it to me early enough, because we put the packet out at about noon.
Oh, you're gonna,
Oh, he has to get it to them.
Yeah, so we send the packet out to the board at
all
noon.
right.
Yeah,
let me-
it's Friday.
Let me just,
Yeah.
this is annoying me, because I know
Yeah.
I redid it.
Well, that's-
While he's looking at
Yeah,
it,
you're gonna do yours?
you know, even though there's a lot of room for improvement, it amazes me that the Dartmouth Mall has been around for a long time.
I know, shocking.
And you look at the Silver City Mall in Taunton, which was very elaborate, Emerald Mall in Attleboro, Swansea
Swansea
Mall,
Mall.
they're
Yeah.
all bigger. And the top of the mall is Harbor Mall.
Yeah.
But they did redevelop Harbor Mall into something very successful.
Yeah,
It's
and the
actually
reason
quite
why the
nice.
Dartmouth Mall has been so successful, I constantly in communication with the management there. They were part of a bigger real estate investment firm called PRIT, Pennsylvania Real Estate Investment Trust.
Yeah.
They have gone bankrupt, but out of their portfolio, at one time, they had 40 malls. And they have 8 left. Out of the 8,
Yeah, of
Dartmouth is
course.
one of the highest performing malls. And the reason why is they never went 2 floors. If you look at all the other malls you just suggested.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They went
You're
2
right.
floors. At one time, the Dartmouth Mall was looking at going to 2 floors,
Yeah,
but
yeah, no, that's-
just to,
that's
now, keep in mind, they have to have filled all that space, and that's a lot of area. So they have the right, in my opinion, they have the right stores, they bring in the right,
Yeah.
we're close to the school, so we try to work with them. They're a big taxpayer in town, and
Yeah, okay, that's a good
Okay,
point.
so what I did, I found the other one. I thought I sent this out, but maybe I didn't. So what I did is I put economic development, I had finance committee here.
Yep.
And then, let's see, so it's finance committee. I call these call to action. So there were there were 4 calls to action before this,
Yeah.
which was the 2007, and I fixed Serpide and some of these other things. 2015 Southeast Corridor Planning Economic Development, Serpide. Northeastern University Economic Development 2016, and Serpide, the most recent one, 2022. Call to action, Finance Committee call to action for residents and town meeting members, essentially what I wrote before. And then finally, the conclusion is the same as last time. So I'll send this out. And then you wanted me to pull some common things out of the,
No, I mean, you may not have time to do it if it has to be
Yeah,
out in the
it's gonna
morning.
be the budget.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then I'll send you this one.
send me this one, and then
I'll send you this first thing, or maybe tonight.
But it could be mentioned in conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be on a slide.
yeah, that's true.
What's that?
The points that are common between the 4 studies.
Oh, okay, I can do that.
So speaking on the grants, hiring somebody dedicated to writing grants, I have a few slides on that. I don't know if you guys want to see it, if it's something that we want to use at the joint meeting. It's mostly what Brian has researched and a couple of things that I added. And if Gary can get us how many like what we had for monetary grants from this past year, that would be helpful.
I think we sent it out, we asked Donna that information, and she sent that to us.
All
So
of
we
us?
can-
Did I get it and I didn't see
I
it?
sent it, she sent it, but
yeah.
I remember I couldn't figure out how
don't know
to
if I saw
interpret
that.
it. I saw
I-
it,
Okay, we asked for it again, and
yeah, a
Am I
while
missing
ago.
I don't remember, who'd it come from?
Came from you.
Came from you?
And then I was
Long
gonna,
ago.
I was gonna fool around with it, but I couldn't figure, we were gonna meet to talk, because I couldn't figure out how to read the numbers.
yeah, okay, well, I can resend it, and
That would be really
Yeah,
helpful.
Yeah, I
questions?
think,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Did you
can
wanna show it?
Yeah.
Do you need the whole thing?
Don't know, I just,
I have it
what do I
right
need,
here.
what do I need
Do
from
you
that?
have an HDMI port?
Probably.
A
No,
little one.
no, that's
no.
not it.
I only have a little one. I do
Do you
have an
have this?
HDMI.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll probably
that's
have
it,
one of
that's-
these.
oh, HDMI, you just plug your computer into it. don't
Yep, I do. There we go.
you? I'm so glad I know what this means.
Is that yours, or is it? Okay, thank you. So this is what Brian had made in the previous. It just looks at the Dartmouth Mass Grant Funding Analysis from 2014 to 2025 of potentially, but this isn't necessarily accurate, which is why I was hoping to see what Gary could get me. So just kind of see what we are getting for funding for grants. It's hard to see it on here, I would have to darken it up apparently, but basically this is just saying, it's kind of recapping that previous page. Not sure if I would keep this slide in there or not. The next one is, and I like this is a dedicated grant writer, the return on investment analysis, and what this is saying is, if we had a 5% increase, this would more than pay for, your return on investment would be 465%, and that's just increasing our grants potentially by 5%. So it's kind of a nice look at it. Now, again, this is based on a hypothetical written by Claude, so if I had the actual numbers, I could actually put in numbers of what a 5% would look like. So the recommendations, this is, again, Brian has gone over this, but, you know, that there's a good return on investments by hiring a grant writer, and I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical in the beginning when we were talking about it, thinking the way the economy is going, that lots of grants are being pulled, but I still think that maybe that it would be reasonable to hire a grant writer, because I think that there's a lot of money out there that we're missing, that we just aren't getting because we don't have somebody researching it, we don't have somebody, you know, it's basically department heads doing it.
And Carrie,
So-
what I would say is, rather than thinking what might be out there, I would say in our budget meetings that
Yeah.
we had with department heads, we heard several times
Absolutely.
that there were grants available that department heads did not have the time to put together.
Yeah,
That
no,
would-
grants still exist.
Right, that would be a fair thing to say, it's not hypothetical, we heard it from a number of people.
Oops, let me just add that on here so I remember.
You should also think about, and this is just playing devil's advocate, is to have that person as a consultant.
Yeah.
Fair.
Especially because we have,
Not-
this
not
is
bad.
not the first time that we talked about this, and 2 times before, when there were conversations about doing this with a consultant, it turned into an actual full-time person.
Yeah.
And we might want to
Always.
think about not, you know, we might want to think about, I don't know if you can write a contract that says you get paid based on what grants you come up with.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
You can.
You know, if you could do that, that would be a good way to ease into something like this, because I think town meeting has heard already this idea of hiring a grant
The
writer.
town did it before, where the
Yeah.
person got a
Twice.
piece.
And also, I think
Piece of the
we
pie.
talked about maybe even a regional approach, where someone would
Yes.
work in multiple towns,
Yeah.
and we could
I
share
don't,
that
I don't
cost.
think that's a good idea.
No.
This is Dartmouth. We want the money for Dartmouth. We don't want to
Well,
spread.
we'd like them to focus on Dartmouth,
want-
of
Yeah,
course.
well, each community would get its own grant, I'm saying the person would be working, we would share that.
No, share
Not
expenses.
just share the resource, but not the grant.
For
I would, no,
example,
I'm not even sharing the
Brian, for
resource.
example, the energy person that we
Yep.
have,
Works in
we
multiple
benefit
Oh,
from
yeah,
that
if you're talking about a
person.
consultant, yes. But
Right.
if you're
that's what I'm
talking about
about.
employees.
No, no, no,
Oh,
I'm talking
yeah.
about a consultant.
Okay.
So this one is one that I generated, which was, I basically asked Claude, you know, what are potentially some of the grants that we might have missed? Now, again, this is Claude, so we don't know exactly how accurate, this is quite hypothetical. But as you see, this,
We're
the
not gonna
chart
be talking
represents
about
a
Claude.
hypothetical grant opportunities that Dartmouth Mass might have missed during the past year. Totally approximately $3.25 million in potential funding. Now, even if it was a small portion of that, it's a significant amount of money. So it includes both federal and state grants that are typically available to municipalities of Dartmouth size and characteristic. Chart shows major federal programs like FEMA, Building Resilient Infrastructures, EPA's Clean Water State Resolving Fund, state-level opportunities like the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program, yada, yada, yada. What I would like to do is if I could find time, I would like to actually look into some of these to see how much of this would actually, you know, material.
Potentially be real.
Materialize.
That's why it
Sorry.
might make a lot of sense to hire a consultant to do this,
Yeah.
and give them a hunk of whatever it is that they turn up, because they would know the real ones.
It's kind of the easiest way in, personally.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
And this slide just kind of broke up state versus federal grants, and I think that this was nice because we may lose more federal grants, but we may still retain our state grants within our state. Like we have our state is usually good about continuing to offer money within our communities. So I just thought this was a nice breakdown, so you could kind of see how much Claude feels we,
He's going to need a nameplate soon.
The 10th.
that would be really funny.
He's going to be the 10th member.
I wouldn't mention Claude during the presentation.
don't.
I would say research.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, too.
I wouldn't.
It's AI research.
You could
It's just,
say AI.
AI
it's just research.
But-
It's just
It's
research.
just research.
Now, here's my concern.
Yeah.
We have so much good information on 2 different topics here that far surpasses 25 minutes of discussion.
I mean, this I can break this down in less than 5 minutes.
Well, may I make a suggestion? we can make a presentation to them and say, if any of this stuff is of interest,
Yeah.
to discuss further, we can do it
Yeah.
at another meeting, to try and cram it into one.
Well, it's a lot, either one of you doing this is easily a full
Yeah,
presentation on its own of a good content, good
Yeah.
length.
yeah.
The two of them, it starts to become a lot more than the time we're gonna get.
Well-
This is only a few slides. This is like 6 slides, so literally probably 5
6
minutes.
slides can fill an hour.
No, 5 minutes, a minute. per-
Well,
Don't forget, they may ask questions, and that's what.
Yeah,
They
well,
may ask
all right,
questions, and
so-
I don't have a lot of answers either, so.
So what I would suggest doing is maybe we could start off by saying, we found a lot of interesting data which we think the select board will be interested in.
Yeah.
And that we're presenting our initial go-in.
Yeah.
Our initial,
I would just suggest for those of you talking to read the room and make sure we're not losing people.
That's right.
It's a lot of
That's
information.
right.
Yeah,
I
but,
really
you
do
know,
think this can be
can I-
5 minutes,
Well,
and say that there was a, that there was a need. We did this research, or started looking at this, because department heads voiced a need for it, so.
I
we
guess.
just
I
kinda-
think 5 minutes discredits it.
Fair.
I really do, for what it is.
yeah. But
Well, but if we
so
only
why
have
can't- why-
25, then-
How could we stage it so that we could say, okay, this is our initial, something to the effect, this is our initial go-in. We think it's quite meaningful for the town. And if the select board has any interest in pursuing any of these things, we can do it in another meeting.
Yeah, these are the 3 topics that, maybe like Terry had mentioned, during the course of our budget interviews with department heads, were the 3 topics that were key to us. And I can tell you that it almost reconciles back to what they see are their issues, long-term capital, economic development. So I think we're gonna be speaking the same language, I guess, so.
Yeah, but I understand the problem may be, like, this is like, both of these things, you could take hours and hours.
Oh, it's a
and
full,
hours
good-
But then
doing.
you'll lose your audience.
Right, you lose your
I
audience.
agree 5 minutes might discredit it, so maybe 10.
Absolutely discredits it.
So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is figure out some way to say, this is our initial positions on all this stuff, and how about saying something to the effect that it needs further, we need further
We need
in-depth
further.
discussions. But we're not gonna get that with the select board anyhow, so I don't know. Based on past experience.
So, Gary,
So I mean,
I just want to ask Gary,
Yeah.
Gary, you worked in Fall River for a while, and they had Ken Fiola, right?
Ken,
Well,
yeah.
He was a consultant, right?
Office of Economic Development, yeah.
Yeah, so he would get a piece of whatever he brought in?
Yes, yeah, he was,
Okay.
that was a totally separate,
Yeah,
it wasn't even considered a city department
so, yeah,
at the time.
and was he considered to be successful?
Very successful.
Yeah, very
He brought in, one of the
Amazon.
largest projects was the South Coast Marketplace.
and Amazon.
And did he bring Amazon in?
That's right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, can't argue with those
Yeah,
credentials, I don't
but he has been doing it for a number of years.
Has been.
Yes.
Still does it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he's been doing it since.
So I guess, just
early
going
80s.
back,
Yeah,
how do
30, 40
we, how do we curtail during the meeting with them on Monday, so it doesn't turn into losing them halfway through it, because they, get really into one subject, and everybody, and pass out by the time they get,
Well, I think it's important that the committee present all 3 at once, and then ask, and then you'll get feedback from the board. I think to stop at every single one, now you turn this into an hour conversation.
but how do you keep the meeting from going into more in-depth?
Well, so you're gonna present, they'll have feedback.
Yeah.
They'll have, and there may be questions, and then the dialogue will
Well,
stop.
I think somebody has to be, like, if I'm gonna do.
A
the-
point person.
Yeah, somebody, well, I don't mind doing a lot of the talking, but I think somebody has to, maybe you have to say something like,
Your time's up?
yeah, my time's up. No, seriously, my time's up.
I'm saying half an
My
hour, I
time's
mean, we
up.
don't have a timer.
No,
I'm
my
saying
time's
time.
up, or this needs, or this, if they're into.
Further review.
It needs further review in a separate meeting. So if we
Yeah,
get into a
yeah.
lot of questions,
Yeah, 'cause-
Or you can present and say that the committee is willing to meet further on this.
but maybe you
Yeah,
want to start off with that.
Well, okay. Yeah, the problem with the joint meetings in the past, my experience has been, is they kind of control who speaks.
Yeah.
They do.
But we're having our own meeting.
Yeah, I think they're expecting the
But
conversation.
I guess the problem I'm having with this is all these things are meaty subjects, So if they get into like one area, like talking about reliance on residential tax levy,
Well, I'll push it on. I'll push it on.
yeah, somebody has to push it on. Somebody
I think in a
has,
sense
somebody
it
has
needs
to
to be
watch the
broadly
eyes
on these.
glazing over and
You can't
push
get
it
into
on.
too much
I
detail.
don't think we're going to be talking about reliance on residential taxes. I think what we're talking about is economic development. And what you've put up there is the reason why we're talking about economic development. So like long-term capital, we didn't just come up with it that it was a great idea. We have looked at project
years.
after project after project not being addressed, no planning. So finally, the decision was made, set up this committee. So I think if you can keep it that simple and keep it away from what your opinion is and more on what you actually saw, why we're bringing this up. We're not just bringing this up because we're wicked
We
smart.
have data to support it.
But keep
We are
away
wicked smart, but that's not
from
why we're bringing
reading
it
your
up.
slides.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Okay.
Oh, Bill,
But I just want to do my actual before you guys get into that. All right, go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to say, and you guys are point on as far as limiting and having the most salient points out there. The panacea for all this is more economic development. That's going to be the cure-all for increasing taxes and all that. So Brian brought some great charts about how things are going, and you can put little bullet points underneath the charts. You know, try to keep it to what they're getting at, Brian, as succinct as possible, and then bring out afterwards saying, okay, and here's what we're going to try to emphasize is the economic development portion, which is really the meat of the whole thing. You've laid the groundwork by saying, if this doesn't happen, you know, for instance, the tax, people will be, unfortunately, could be residential, could be commercial, unnecessarily taxed or taxed further than they're already being taxed. And this is what we're saying will be, hopefully, the cure-all will be more economic development, bringing more revenue in, and that will offset any type of tax increases, which should be a burden to either residential or present commercial owners.
Yeah, long-term capital is gonna be a big, not a big discussion, but a good discussion, because
Right.
they're, pretty much, everyone's
Right.
involved with that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
David is the one that
Yeah.
spearheaded
I mean,
that.
the charts really say it all. And you
Okay.
can really just have bullet points underneath the charts without going into a lot of narrative, because as Terry pointed out, somebody else want to
Oh,
put these
going to the
people.
weeds. I
You
mean,
don't want to
going
put these,
Right.
right,
Deep to it.
exactly,
I think less
exactly,
is more.
exactly.
I think our three big topics, you know, what you've put up there is the reason why. Bring it home and just leave it at
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Bullet points to that point, and then just, this is the economic development is the key to solving our problems, bringing in more revenue into the town.
Okay,
Yes, go ahead.
can we go
yeah.
back to this?
Yes, circle
Hands
back.
go by my face.
No, I'm passing on.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what the charts go. I want to skip ahead because the end of this, I just want to make sure that that's the final, because I think it's pretty much done. It's the middle piece that needs something. So we talked about most of this last week. I didn't change anything on the conclusion, except for number 6 on the, how we go forward. And this was a point from Terry, and yes, I stole it, Terry, from what you sent me. So the 6th point was long-term planning, expand the charge of the long-term capital committee to include long-term operational and capital planning.
Yep.
That's the only thing I changed in this conclusion.
That's perfect.
Right.
So, all right,
Yeah,
good.
we got it.
Then we'll take that away. So before that, there's a middle piece.
Can you go up
Janine,
second,
that's
one
it,
second for
within
the,
the
oh, sorry.
Where?
Just go up second for the percentages, I just want to look at them. quick.
Right,
We looked at-
I asked about those last
Yeah.
week. Are they still good?
Yes,
Did they change?
no,
Okay.
those are good.
I'm happy to change them if you'd like. I notice on some of your things, when I'm looking at the numbers, that we tend to be on the high side of that percentage.
Well,
That's why I didn't know if you wanted to change them.
public health costs, that's in the range.
Okay,
Pension obligations, that's in the range.
yeah,
Education expenses, that's
Well, I
what,
knew that
that's
one.
what we've had over the last few
Yeah.
years.
Right.
okay. All right, good. As I said before, with all the nice charts that Brian has put together, I think we might be able to get away with a lot less text.
Yes.
But we have to have something,
Yes.
obviously. I started writing this. some of it's input from Terry, based on what we wrote last year in our budget summary.
I'll get you the number there right now for the 0000, while you work on.
Oh, okay. So anyway, we continue to face challenges with the fiscal year 2026 budget review. While department heads kept requests minimal, many still exceeded our available resources. And this part came from Terry. I just tweaked it slightly to blend in. Terry?
I just sent, I'm sorry, I just sent you the revision for the school section.
Oh,
and the
okay.
Long-term capital, so if you want to just put that up.
If I can get my email, yes.
I put the, you were suggested putting more information on the
Oh, for
project, so
long-term?
I put that in there.
Okay, I'll look at it after. Anyway, this was some of the historic information that Terry had given me. The Long-Term Capital Committee has been meeting over the past 2 years to identify future town infrastructure needs and will provide additional information on their work at the upcoming town meeting. Our town's operating expenses present a significant challenge to meet our long-term capital needs. We see increases in health insurance, transportation costs, and inflationary costs that impact many budget areas. And in the next paragraph is,
You want me to read the revision?
yes, you should actually, because I don't know if I have it in email. I'll have to see if it came through.
So,
you can't.
I'll give you the number for that. It's 30 point, this includes a lot of big projects too.
Oh, the request for
Yeah.
capital,
30,684,232.
684,
232.
232. All right, that's good. Let's see what. Terry, do you want to project?
Yes, let's see, I have to find my sent file, and then.
So let me see if I have it in email.
Janine,
That
okay.
may- That may,
Long-Term Capital Committee. The Long-Term Capital Committee has been meeting over the past few years to identify future town infrastructure and will provide additional information on their work at the upcoming town meeting on Tuesday, June, blah, blah, blah. The committee was formed to address longstanding funding issues surrounding the town's ability to address infrastructure needs such as our water and sewer treatment and our public school facilities. Our town's operating expenses present a significant challenge to meeting our long-term capital needs. A level services budget alone leaves very little room for capital needs of the town. As stated previously in this letter, we see increases in health insurance, transportation costs, and inflationary costs that impact many budget areas. The Long-Term Capital Committee has identified 8 to 10 long-term capital projects that cannot be accommodated in our operating budgets. In addition to Public Works and elementary, middle, and high school, this committee has identified other capital needs in the area of community services, including renovation of the Maria Connors Center for Active Living. The committee plans to hold workshops in the future where residents can voice their opinions or concerns about these projects. In addition, in order to plan for long-term capital needs moving forward, the committee will be recommending an expansion of its charge to include long-term operational and capital planning. Too long, too late.
Well, I
So
moved
you
that
want to add
last,
to, you want to add that to this?
no, that is
I would just
per
take out,
revision of that.
Okay, because,
yeah, I would take out those
so
two
you won't be
paragraphs and
saying
put this in.
workshops
Yeah.
twice,
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, she
Yeah,
just,
don't
this
add
was,
to
most of this is hers in the first place.
Okay.
And then, are we putting schools in here too, or are we?
Well, that's, right, I didn't have the final content.
I know, I just did it.
That's why I didn't put it in.
So, but what else is going in this budget?
Well, that's the question.
Okay.
You know, I looked at what we had done last year. You know, what do we want to touch upon? I mean, I can show you what we did last year.
Well, I think you have to do something about schools.
Well,
because
something, we
it's-
mentioned it last year, of
Yeah.
I mean,
course.
well,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's like 60% of the budget. You have
Yeah.
to say something.
Correct.
Want me to
And it's
read what
going
I
up
wrote?
faster than the
Right.
operating,
So revised school set, this is longer, so can you hang in
No,
there?
it was long.
The Dartmouth Public School District is currently utilizing school choice funds to supplement the school budget. This topic has been discussed every month on the school committee's agenda, at budget subcommittee meetings, and at finance committee meetings. At the suggestion of a finance committee member and with input from residents, the towns and the school district's finance departments have worked together to propose a 5-year process of reducing this reliance. This plan is included in the FY26 budget proposal. Even with this plan, the Dartmouth Public Schools remain in a tenuous position. Despite educating the 77th largest top quadrant of 396 districts, student enrollment in Massachusetts, DPS is outspent by 351 of these school districts, lowest quadrant. However, Dartmouth is not alone. This year, 16 school districts in Massachusetts are planning override votes because of budget gaps related to health insurance increases of up to 10%, the end of federal COVID funds, transportation costs increases of up to 6%, and special education costs increases 5% or more. And that comes from, I reference where that comes from. With Proposition 2.5 limits, how do we reconcile these increased costs? Decisions on this issue will affect not only the schools, but other town services and capital essentials. Unfortunately, future budget cuts will result in staff layoffs, which will increase class size and reduce the school district's ability to meet the educational, social, and emotional needs of children. We need to decide what kind of public schools we want to provide for our children. Dartmouth Public Schools completed and presented a strategic plan this year, and the Finance Committee looks forward to hearing the district's progress toward achieving established goals. Moving forward, this project, it has to be fixed, Janine, this progress will provide tangible evidence of the need for continued collaboration between residents, town meeting, and town leaders. So it's a little bit of advocacy, I know, but,
I think it's needed, you know,
Yeah.
it's- you have these costs going up so much, and you can only increase the tax by 2.5, and it doesn't keep up with the increase, and then when you do the long-term planning, that really, you know, you can't plan for any projects because you can't keep up with the operating expenses.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's good to put it out there and let people know, hey, you know, this is gonna come to a head at some point, and let's get ahead of it.
any other
The only thing I
feedback?
question, I mean, I'm surprised that special education, you got 5%. I thought it would be higher.
There was a review on February 9th in the Globe, and it listed this information from all the districts at the time.
Okay.
But that's not our number.
Oh, no, that's before that, I talk
State.
about the school, 16 schools in Massachusetts are proposing override votes this year because of that reason.
Yeah, and the transportation costs 6%.
Should we write statewide?
Might help clarify it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I believe that our special education costs have gone up much more than 5%. Not only with the cost, but the number of students that need it.
Yeah.
And that's what is driving their budget so high.
Yeah, I didn't get specific about Dartmouth in here, so, I mean, we could, but I don't think I'd have all the information that I
All
need
right,
to say
okay.
that.
Okay.
I know that Jim Kiley said that he's going to do the summary sheet. Do you remember the summary sheet that we used to get with the packets? I don't know if you remember, Gary. It's been a couple of years, but it's a one-page that says this is all the areas of the
Okay.
budget. Yeah, you
Yeah.
remember.
Okay.
He's going to do that and
All
send
right,
it to
well, it
us.
says increases of 5% or more on special education. Would any objective say on the transportation, increases of 6% or more?
Sure,
Okay,
yep,
just saying up to 6%. I don't
rather
think
than
so.
up to,
Okay.
yeah, yep. Yeah, and it is going to be more in Dartmouth because they went out to bid.
Yeah.
So my comment on this, because you probably all know I don't like the O word, but many of the places that are proposed this override, you're presenting this honestly as the solution to it. To
An
rising-
override?
Yes. And I will tell you, as we all know, many times it's voted down.
Yep, yep.
So to present it as this is the way it needs to go, when it could in Dartmouth easily go not forward, let's just say.
So I didn't realize that I was saying that. I was just saying, we're not the only town. We could take that
I
section
mean,
out.
I would.
right, I'm just saying, it's
Yeah.
been voted down plenty of times.
Yeah, it has. It has. It's about, I think it's about 2/3.
It's only the concern that it seems like this will be the solution, but it's not the solution, because it could easily not happen.
No, there's a lot of work that has to happen before that's
Right.
determined, so.
That's my
What do you think?
objection
Do you want
to
to
it,
take
really.
that out?
I would.
I don't, you know,
I would take it
though,
out.
to Terry's defense of putting it in there, at the school committee meetings, multiple parents are pushing for an override to fund the schools. So I understand why Terry put it in there, And again, I don't want to see an override either. However,
Yeah. I
The
think,
town wants
I
this
think
to-
that the work that needs to be done
Yeah.
before that is, I think we have to look very carefully at the budget and be sure that there aren't
Yeah.
costs in there
Yeah.
that could be eliminated to offset the school budget. And I don't think we've done that. I think we've gone through the budget and looked at what was proposed, and, but to see what could we do without, I don't think that question's been asked. So that would be number one. And then there needs to be information put out, there's a calculator that says what that would cost, per. So there's a lot that would have to be done. So if you think this says that
Just
that's what I'm
it's just my
recommending,
opinion.
I'm willing to take it out.
I mean, there's other things, and you just said it. So has the school looked at having, and I'll present it this way, an outside audit from a third party on their budget? Have they talked about that?
Not other than what, they have to have an audit done every year, but.
Not talking about a financial audit, we're
Right.
talking about
Right.
an audit that
And
is
to be
of
honest
the
with you,
entire.
that's not our decision. I think.
I know it's not our
tricky
decision, but to
because
me,
the
it's
school-
equal to talking about, thinking about an override.
Right. And,
Okay.
talking about what Kerry's mentioned about parents, yeah, the parents represents one group in the town. How about the people that don't have students in the school system? Would they be in favor of an override? Probably not. If you look at if you talk to people outside the school community,
I know.
they're not in favor of overrides. Matter of fact, last time we were in front of the select board, I think it was last spring, and a few of the select board people said, you're not gonna get an override, because it's not very popular.
Well,
Oh,
aging
who wants to pay
population,
more
too.
It's
taxes?
not.
Nobody does. So maybe before it says with Proposition 2.5, a sentence in there that says Dartmouth will need to take steps to review what solutions would be appropriate. And then.
That's,
That sounds
before
that
good.
sounds
do you-
very good.
Can you
Yeah.
just put that in there that way? I trust your.
Well, you're writing it,
grammar.
actually, I haven't changed it, because I don't have the version that you have in front of you.
Oh, you didn't get the email?
No, that's why I'm
I
not
don't
making
get
any
the updates
changes to
either.
it, because you've
Yeah, I
already
can do
changed it.
that.
I don't want to be, over-editing.
no, you do a wonderful job.
Oh, yeah.
You do.
You do a
Depends.
wonderful job.
You do.
I don't want to change anybody's thought process with my own.
No, but it's true, you're saying.
But yes, sadly, I probably got it on my phone, Terry, but it doesn't come through on my
Has
laptop.
anybody thought of, there's so many questions about the school committee, about the school budget, and why it is the way it is. And I think you just mentioned it. Has anybody thought of having an outside company come in and look at, to create a base that everybody could agree on, that has suggestions to improve or cut costs or whatever?
We
That
could ask
all-
that question at the next budget subcommittee.
It would seem to me, there's so many different opinions floating around, that it might not be a bad idea to have an objective outside company. I'm not talking about Serped, I'm talking about a consulting company that specializes in this, to come out and put a baseline down that everybody can argue
The-
about,
the-
whatever, and then start from there and go forward.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I tend to try to base my opinions on facts. And one of the things, because we keep on running into this, that the Dartmouth Public School, cost per student is low compared to around the state. But it really comes down to health insurance. The health insurance contribution is so low that if it was like other towns, we would be right in line with our average spending per student. The problem is, if you change it for the schools, you gotta change it for the whole town.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. When we looked at, and this goes back a couple of years, when we looked at salary compensation, and Jim Kiley says, agrees with this, that we're very competitive. It's the health insurance. It's really what it comes down to.
I think our overall,
Support staff, too. I think
our,
support
yeah,
staff is a year.
our overall budget, like how much money they receive per school year, per academic year, how much money we're budgeting for them is less than what comparable towns are. So I think, to what you were saying, Brian, bringing somebody in like a professional consultant, I think, going back to what Bob said, actual numbers, the actual amount of money that they're getting to work with is less than comparable sized towns. And which is why we're seeing, the per student numbers are less, because they're working with less and they're producing more. So I think Mr. Kiley has said over and over and over again, like, they're working with a very small budget and they're creating amazing results, because we have great dedicated teachers that are some are reaching retirement age and they're counting down, and so that's going to be an issue, being able to recruit new teachers in the future. I don't see personally how they could, squeeze anything else out of that budget. I mean, every single year they have not replaced teachers and staff, and, I mean, these aren't like, oh, we're going to order like cheaper books or something. I mean, these are like support staff that they need. They're just not replacing them. So when you think of that, every single year, we're sometimes letting people go, sometimes not replacing them because they've, through attrition. But I don't see a way that they're going to squeeze anything else out of the budget. And parents are getting really ticked off about it. So we're going to see them at meetings if we, don't give it some level of attention.
I go back to, I think there's so many different opinions, like, you can't even get a straight opinion, like, how much, like, when people talk about the declining number of students, the first thing they talk about is, well, then we shouldn't be paying as much. And there's all this, no, I'm just saying, this is why I'm thinking maybe having an impartial company come in here,
All right.
set the baseline, and then let people argue about how to how to start and go up from a baseline that everybody agrees to, so to dispel all the myths. And what does it mean that other towns tax more and or do they get better results or whatever? But have somebody that's expert at this, lay the ground, get all the myths dispelled, and start from there.
That may be a good idea,
It
but
might
what
be a
I'm
good
saying,
idea.
but what I'm saying is that's a conversation at the budget subcommittee, not for us.
Oh, yeah.
It's not for us.
But it may be a way we can, since we're empowered to question expenditure,
Yeah, we can
we
suggest it.
could suggest something.
Let me ask a question. All right, as far as the biggest drivers in any budget, especially school budget, is transportation costs and the actual labor costs, union contracts. So if you haul the consultant in here, that would be the bottom line, would be addressing those two features, would be the expenditures for labor, whether they be school teacher or support staff or whatever, and transportation. So I don't know what the result would be out of that, and how could you trim, and you say, unless, well, when you negotiate with the union, you should be hard and fast to stay with such a percentage and all this and all that. But those are things that are fairly obvious to anybody without bringing in a consultant, so those
Well,
to me are the two,
Contractual.
those to me are the two
Yeah,
driving
well,
costs.
I would disagree to the point where it's apparent to people sitting around this table that do this more frequently than your average person does. And so, like, even with the transportation, having you brought up that other towns
Yeah, I-
get some kind of,
Exactly, yes,
So-
fees.
to have an input, to me, this is off the cuff, having an impartial company come in, and let's talk about transportation, and to say, okay, we agree that it's gonna go up to 7 million by year 2030.
Yeah.
But there's really nothing, and you list, there's nothing you can do about it because there aren't that many companies that exist that would want to quote on the contract. And list all the things that say why you can't really improve that number. It's going to be 7 million, or you can improve that number by doing such a thing. We talk about these, the piece we're missing is that, yeah, this is correct, and this is what you can do about it, and this is what you can't do about it.
So you mean to tell me you couldn't arrive at that without a special arbitrator coming in?
I don't think everybody would believe me. I mean, my point is that
Sure they would,
there's too many opinions flying around. And then, the resolution that I've heard is, well, you can charge more money to the people that actually are on the bus, but the real problem is that the state has this requirement, and,
The state has a requirement that you have to supply
Well, that's
a
my
seat.
point.
Oh, yeah,
So-
but that's mandated. It doesn't say we can't charge for the seat.
I know that, but my only point is to say, I think there's too many things flapping around.
Well, we're getting toward the end here, and I just want to get to a point of what's the action items to, where we got to get.
Well, I think, just to recap on the bullet points, I think we've talked about the meeting. To wrap the letter up, I don't know if we can get it into one draft.
I can get it into one draft. I obviously need to put in the graphs from Brian, and I think, are they done, what I have, are they finished?
The graphs you have are finished. The only thing I'm going to change a little bit is the spiel on economic development, which I'm going to send you.
Well, that's fine, that's for the meeting on
Yeah, that's what I
Monday.
mean, that
That's
won't be
Monday.
for-
And I'll
That's not
send
the
you
letter.
that
Yeah,
tomorrow.
and then
then-
I'll update the numbers at the top.
Correct.
By Thursday of next week, so we'll have that ready.
Okay, of course.
So I would say
And
that,
then Terry will send me the segment that she wrote on the
Yep, I
schools
sent
and
them.
the
If you
other.
didn't go- If you don't have them, tell me and I'll send them again.
Yeah, so at the next meeting, Mr. Chairman, I think we do finalize this, we'll have it ready for print. And then also, I might also have line item transfers ready, so we won't have to do them at town meeting.
You have Schedule A ready too, aren't you?
Schedule A will be ready for the committee to vote on Article
Right.
10.
Yeah, I appreciate not having to do it at town
Yeah,
meeting.
so I'll talk to the town accountant and maybe get some preliminary numbers and get it ready. Other than that,
So do you need me to come in like next week to do folding and that kind of thing?
well, I would say on Thursday, if it's finalized by
I
Thursday.
think we need to review the
Yeah.
final draft
Yeah.
next
Right, so
Thursday.
I would say that would be the week of, that's the first. Maybe the week of the 5th, like the 6th or the 7th, we can stop printing and
Okay?
folding. I'll print them. You won't have to be here for printing, I'll have them ready and then
Okay.
they can be folded and stuffed in the
I'm at my
envelope.
calendar right now.
Yeah.
So it should be
sometime that week,
finalized
the week of
after the
5th.
1st. The 1st, we should be able to wrap it up,
Yes,
the letter.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good.
I'll try to incorporate everything, and
So they'll
maybe we'll just be
potentially get it
tweaking it
the
by
week
then.
of-
I can help fold.
yeah,
I
they'll
can
get it the week of the 5th
You buy me a
sometime, so
cup
it's
of
plenty of
coffee.
time for them to have it before town meeting, it's almost over
I
a
can
month,
too.
almost a month.
So are we clear on Monday night?
Yeah,
Everybody
I'm
knows what they're
confused
doing?
again on Monday night. So
Okay, so,
You're not?
I am confused again on Monday night. So
yeah.
You're going to
So-
open it up?
you're
Well,
going
I'm
to,
gonna open it up with a presentation.
Oh,
all
yeah.
right,
with-
Yeah.
on the FY '26.
I'm gonna write this down.
Very brief, it's not even, it's gonna be 5 minutes. And then, my suggestion is that Bob maybe starts off with actuals, starts talking off on actuals. And then the 3 topics that are bullet points, whether Kerry wants to go first, talk about grants, maybe that can lead it off. And then Terry talk about long-term capital.
Okay.
And then Brian comes in at the end with
Economic.
economic development, yeah. And they'll have the economic development piece on their agenda, because I've already put it on there, and I'll talk about the
and I'm going to
importance of-
send you the thing you're going to
Yeah,
give me.
and I'll include it in the packet if you send it to me in the morning.
Okay, I'll do it in the morning. And then economic
Okay.
development. All right.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And then you have the minutes from,
And then you're going to watch people zoning out and
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try to
I
keep
think
it, I shouldn't say, I don't think I've ever been in a meeting where it was just us and the select board.
will we
Terry,
just what?
Terry.
Say that again?
I can't remember us just having a meeting with the select board. Have we had?
We had one.
We did,
did have one?
last spring.
We had
wasn't
one.
it?
yes, it was with the school committee too.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No, we had one with the
Oh, it was
select board.
joint.
They were sitting here,
Yes.
we were sitting
Yes,
down.
yeah, right.
Yeah, we
In the
should.
past,
Doing it
they've
on
been
TV.
with just the school committee, with just the select board and the finance
Let's
committee.
try and make it go back.
Last year, we had it because of, the budget was really a little
Yeah,
off
okay,
kilter.
all right, yeah.
But this year, we also, so I want everyone to know that Jim Kiley will be at the meeting.
Okay.
So he'll be there for, maybe talk about the plan, if he wanted, if that comes up, that we had, the plan for the school choice.
Oh.
So I just
Yeah.
invited Jim to have him in here,
Yeah.
conversation.
All right, I mean.
You would open our meeting and introduce the finance committee, and you would say, here are some things we want to discuss, present to you.
First, first I want to bring up
Okay, and
actuals.
they're not gonna ask us about the warrant votes?
No, they have all those already. They'll have those.
But no, what I'm, are they gonna say, okay, why did you vote,
Why'd you vote,
oh, wait,
why'd you
against-
vote on the bylaw?
No,
Shouldn't.
Okay, they're not gonna, okay, all
No,
right.
no.
2-hour
We're not
meeting.
gonna, you're not gonna have, there won't be conversation about the warrant. These are,
It'll be interesting because one of my, I don't want to say pet peeves, one of the things I didn't enjoy about past select board meetings is we really don't get a chance to talk that much. We usually talk too.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be different.
Well, we're invited to their meeting, and we're one of the items that are on
yeah,
the
and I
select board
think,
agenda.
I think the select board this year is, they want to hear from the finance committee. They want, input, and it's
Okay.
important. And I think that,
All right.
I've already mentioned these 3 topics to the chair, so they're interested in hearing.
I agree with Bob. We've been talked to, which I don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I foresee it to be an open dialogue between
Okay.
both the committee and the
Yeah.
board.
Well, I don't want politics. I want, us to, all right, this is what we're.
Yeah,
we're
you
showing.
have
Okay.
3
All
key
right.
topics, I think, that are timely and that the board is also interested in. So I think it'll be a very interesting conversation.
Me too.
And I think, I don't want to say limiting it to a half an hour, but it makes the committee and the board say, this is the key topics that need to be discussed in that half an hour time period. Sometimes if we say, and we go on and on, that's when it starts to.
So
get a little-
everybody here can make it?
Yeah, I'll be here, I'll be here Monday.
John Souza's going to be here. I'm
Oh,
not sure
good.
about Patrick.
And it's posted, so.
Okay.
Great.
Oh, what time, 6:30?
6:30.
6:30.
Okay.
And do
No,
we
I-
come
I-
before the,
No, so it starts at 6:30, but I can't guarantee, this is a preface, I don't know within that 6:30 timeframe. I'm recommending that you show up at 6:30. I can't tell you that we're gonna start right at 6:30.
Yeah, because they have executive session.
They have things, well, executive sessions before that, and it may overlap, but
Yeah,
there could be other things that happen
can
prior
we
to
come
that.
before the liquor licenses?
Well,
we're first.
yeah,
Are
you're
we
on-
first? Are we
so,
first?
Let me see, I don't have the draft in front of me.
Yeah, we want to be
It's
first,
already
'cause
Yeah.
posted, let me see.
I don't want to
already
be
posted.
waiting
It's
while
already
they,
posted.
Right, well, they do liquor licenses.
while they do a
That's
pizza
fast.
parlor permit.
The only item before you is the town administrator contract. So, and then it opens up to 6:30 in the joint meeting. So there's other items before you, but they're only like appointments, so that shouldn't take much time at all. Usually the appointments go quick. So
right,
you
so
are,
be here
you are on
6:30.
at 6:30.
We'll be here at 6:30, see what happens when we get
Yeah,
here.
if you have to wait a little bit, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, he has no control over that.
We appreciate you, Gary.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
minutes
thank
for
you.
the, minutes from the,
Okay, does somebody want to make,
these are the amended minutes.
Amended minutes.
all right,
That-
I make a motion to approve the Finance Committee.
hang on. Okay, I just want to make sure I have one meeting. Go ahead, Janine?
Okay. I make a motion to approve the Finance Committee meeting minutes for April 17th.
Second.
Second by Patrick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So it's, so Terry's not here. So I'll take her,
Where'd Terry go?
Terry had to leave the room.
yeah. So 600 approved.
That's good.
Okay. Any other items we want to discuss? I think we know what's going to happen. All right,
Never know what's going to happen.
okay. Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I second.
Motion to approved by Bill.
Gary seconded it.
Gary enthusiastically,
Miss, Gary,
Wow.
all in
Without delay.
all in
Get
favor?
that to Carrie, seconded.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear none, so 600. Adjourned.
Bobby, nice work. Gavel and everything.